Okay guys, Wednesday design video, talking today about a Wall Street Journal house that was featured in the mansion section. Comes on in. So Wall Street Journal has a section called mansion, and the week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, the Tahari house, my wife's gonna kill me. It's a women's fashion line, Tahari. They're selling this house for $24 million. If I'm buying their clothes, okay, I'm no longer buying their clothes because their owner has no taste. When you have to put a Lamborghini out in front of your house, you know that it sucks. You realize that you've got an ugly duckling and you are trying to, by association, raise your profile. So you park your Lamborghini in front, thinking that'll distract people's eyes from what a mess this house is. Anyway, clue number one. I remember there was a builder that he was on a building show, and in the living room, he had parked a car. Anyway, don't do this. Don't park a Lamborghini in front of your house. And really what's happening with this house, and you'll see that I've kind of made some changes to it, but why doesn't it work? What's going on? Why does this, my opinion, of course I drew it, look better than this, okay? Essentially what they did and what was happening is you don't need columns like this on a hipped roof, because the hipped roof, basically, if this is your porch, told you Austin I wasn't gonna draw, but now I'm gonna draw, and your columns are out here, but if my roof goes back like that, there's no visual weight here. Okay, so I don't need these heavy columns in front here. And that's why this looks better, because it looks like it's supporting something. And this looks like a mess. And so they put a big dormer up here because it probably looked even more lonely without that. And so they're organizing the style of this thing. And it looks like, this is like a McMansion. Okay, this is the kind of thing that gets built. Yeah, I can do that. I went to Versailles, I can do that. And so you end up with a mismatch on this house coming together. If you see these little arches over to the side, I mean, what is that? Why do you have these fish tanks, kind of things sitting out here and going on here? It's just weird. And so architecturally just is not working. Now, there are tons of examples of French houses that are Renaissance and earlier houses that use classicism, okay? And so what it appears they did here is they wanted a mix of French country and French stuff, but then they threw in these arches and everything, and it just became a big mess. But I can flip through this book of French designs and show you house after house where there's a pediment and columns and something else. Even the arches they want to do here, you go to Versailles, there's all kinds of arches there. So it's not like the arches don't work. It's not like those things aren't happening. Someone didn't understand this style. And so they've invented, okay, this house is an invention. When we get into the columns, again, there's a lack of craftsmanship, there's a lack of understanding. And if the homeowner said, well, I want a really rich style, well, look, the Corinthian order is the highest order, we'll just do that one. And so if you look at the 5 orders of architecture, Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, Composite, this is the Corinthian order, okay? That's what's on this house. The problem is, okay, and you can see it down here, the capital of these columns looks like a head of broccoli, okay? It is not architecturally correct, okay? One, the shaft comes up, okay, and it's a fluted shaft, which is fine. Doop, doop, doop. But this head of broccoli starts out here, just this wide mess, okay? Now, if you zoom in on that, you see the kind of leaves and a hint at what's going on there, hint of what's going on, but you can see that when I slimmed it down and I look at it the way it's supposed to be, and if we zoom in on this, that capital, okay, with the acanthus leaves and everything coming up out of that and the scrolls, it's still very straight and very perpendicular with the shaft. Okay, theirs is, first of all, it starts about 2 sizes too big, and then it just spreads out. And you can see that when I draw it in thin, draw it in the way it's supposed to be, it actually looks okay. Okay, so that's the problem. And then if you look at the ICAA and kind of how they teach and train this, there's your neck of your column coming up through there and your beam, and the edge of my capital, that your abacus comes out here and is over top. But we don't need the spreading out that's happening on this thing, and it just looks ugly. So The reason this isn't working is not only because the styles are a mix of different styles, not only because there's a Lamborghini out front, but the actual execution of the classical order is messed up. The other piece of this, and you'll see me drawing it in here, and you see me trying to draw it in here, is there's no entablature, okay? So the entablature is the piece that sits on top, right? This is the beam that sits over top. So one, this is actually going to be thinner, okay? But then I've got an architrave, a frieze, and then I've got a cornice, okay? And with the Corinthian order, they've got, what you'll see is these modillions coming in here. And they've got, and so the Corinthian order is an expressive style. And so used on theaters, used on very high style buildings. And so there is a dental in there. There's a carved modillion in there. There's a lot of good stuff going on there that they kind of ignore for these pre-made, carved brackets. They looked at it and go, well, I don't like how small they are. I want big ones. So I'm going to put big old brackets in there. This doesn't work because there's no historic precedent for it. Our eye looks at this and goes, something's wrong. Something's not right here. And when you start breaking down all these different parts and pieces, the other thing that I noticed is that in the Corinthian order, the relationship of the width of the column to the height of the column is usually 1:9 or 1:10. Their columns are about 1:8. Okay, I scaled it out, which gets you, okay, into this Doric order, okay, which these are more masculine orders because the proportion of these orders are kind of big and strong. These are meant to be more feminine orders. They're dainty, they're lighter. And this is the female figure, the Ionic order. So this is meant to represent, according to Vitruvius, a young maiden. That's why that's a longer order. So this dimension that they put in here and the size of that column makes this look squatty, okay? And this style should be a celebration and a lifting up and a magnificence that isn't here, because the execution of the columns, and look guys, I've called manufacturers, okay, for Corinthian columns. Hey, do you got one of my columns going to be 18 inches wide at the top? Well, I've got one that's 22. Well, that's a little bit big. Yeah, I mean, if you want me to make a custom one, it's going to cost you. No, I'll just use the one that's the 22, right? So you end up with a capital that's too big. That's assuming they even have it. They can't execute it if they wanted to, right? And so they don't know how to make it. And most manufacturers in America don't know how to make it. We are working on a column, a replication of the Radcliffe camera at Oxford University by James Gibbs. It is fabulous and beautiful. Austin's going to show you pictures. It is a Corinthian capital that we had to work hard on, and we had to fight all our different parts and pieces of our team trying to replicate the past, okay? If you don't know how to do it, if you don't know where to look, you're going to end up with broccoli heads, okay, instead of this wonderful, beautiful proportion Corinthian column. So anyway, this is kind of how to fix this. Wall Street Journal, how dare you, okay? How dare you show this mansion house and throw out the big number, right, to get everybody's attention. This is an ugly house. It doesn't belong in your magazine. Maybe if someone buys it, we can fix it this way. That would make it better. I took out the arches over top and just put dormers up there. The French style can be very Baroque, can be very effusive and celebratory. I've got little finials on top that sit over the top of the columns. This can be a celebration of the style, not a bastardization of the style, which is what this is. So Lamborghini or not, let me know what you guys think. I'm Brent Hull. Thanks for watching.